m'appelle Thierry Chamayou. Quel plaisir de vous avoir avec nous aujourd'hui.
Plaisir pour moi.
If we are moving from a cloud era to an AI era, will enterprise spend be directed away from cloud services?
It's an interesting question. Thank you for asking it. Now, Lena, to be honest, it's a very interesting question because there are a few things that we're aware of, and a few more that we have a feel about. I truly believe that AI is going to happen more at the edge, and rightly saying your question is spot on. Is that going to detract or attract, or is that going to move volume fluxes of business from one way to another? So as I said, I think that the best equipped vehicle is what lies at the edge. I am not sure that the very first move that we're going to be seeing on AI kicking in are going to be as structured as the way we see it into the DCS business, because historically speaking, we've been building and growing on the data center business from local to regional to massive data centers and the co-location. So we've had the time to build it up. I think that on the AI, it could be a lot of data come rough and dirty, and that we have to cope with. And there is nothing wrong in what I'm saying rough and dirty, is because it's a huge amount of data coming in the same time, not being judgmental. And where is the best equipped is edge, because you need to have that data compute at the closest where that data is being created. Now, is this going to take away from? I don't think so. What would be interesting to figure out is this something which is really considered part of the normal data center business that we see?
Yeah.
Because the normal data center that we see, we can read all the reports that saying that it's going to keep on growing and growing and growing. And interestingly enough, you don't need AI to grow. You're going to be growing massively, but that AI is going to happen irrelevant. So are you going to be, really chipping in to figure out that it's something that you're going to go for, or are you going to let it happen at the edge first and then get it to somewhere else? That somewhere else, I don't know where it is right now, but it's interesting.
What is your perspective of the data center market in EMEA region over the next 5 years?
So I'll tell you, I am so happy that I'm in that, part of the world. We tend to look at, in Europe, Middle East, and Africa, it's very interesting, again, because what is true in Europe is not yet true in Africa, is not yet true, and might never be true in Middle East. And I think that, where you would believe that, for instance, yes, you have heard that a million times before. What's happening now in Europe will happen in 5 years in Africa. All wrong. I am a firm believer of the reverse psychology and the reverse engineering. I think that in Europe, one of the key elements of the growth for Europe is coming from what we can learn in Africa today.
Yeah.
And Middle East comes with a different angle to the business. First, because of the sequence. Second, because of the nature of the business. Third, because of how the investment is happening in Middle East. And that has nothing to do on how the business is being financed in Africa. For instance, in Africa, endemic business will happen. It's inevitable. You've got the demography, you've got the age of the African youth, and they're all tech savvy. So it's inevitable. Now, that business cannot be a business where historically, back in the agricultural day or the industrial days, you would invest in Africa, suck out the money of Africa, and keep on doing your business somewhere in the US or in China or in Europe. This is no longer valid. So we need to find a model where in Africa, most of the business that we're doing that creates revenue, value, is going to stay in the country. All right? The rest can happen because the players, we know the players, who are the internet giants. They're 21, 22 internet giants, or players, I would say, from the US or from China. You cannot live and have a business model where you're not going to stay with some of the value that you create. You won't be. You have to let it stay in Africa. So it's very interesting, because that's exactly something that we've done in Europe. Never ever we've been taking out business and value that you create in France or in Germany or in Spain, and then you take it back home, ever. And that is going to be changing the paradigm, because Africa historically has been the place where people come and do business, and they don't especially stay there. So that business that is coming now is something where I truly believe that is going to stay. So to come back to your first question, it's going to keep on growing. And I suspect that it's going to grow faster than what we see and what we read absolutely everywhere. And everything which is new is good to learn. So that's why I'm excited. I'm going to learn more.
If we are to meet here same time next year, what do you think would be a closed file that we discussed today? It would be like, okay, it's a given. And what would we be talking about next year, this time next year?
With the current energy crisis that we're going through will provide the impetus for accelerating that electrification. The outcome of us being able to reduce our carbon footprint, our emission, which at the end of the story is saving our planet for the next generation, that is so important that I would like that presentation not to be repeated, because it's been taken, understood, and we've moved on.